forces and insurgents. Here are the latest updates. We're learning a number of militants, we don't know exactly how many, have been killed and injured in clashes in Saif Dawla in the flashpoint city of Aleppo. Government troops are carrying out a mop-up operation as they strengthen their grip on the city. Meanwhile, gun battles are underway in several neighbourhoods, including Khalidiyya in Homs city. Heavy clashes are being reported between government forces and armed groups in Mazeh district and the capital, Damascus. Also, the Syrian Army has foiled an infiltration attempt by militants in Tal Kalach, near the border with Lebanon. Well, Syria has been grappling with unrest since March of last year. As the conflict rages on, those fighting the Syrian government enjoy the all-out support of the West and several Arab countries allied with the US. Now, fresh revelations show NATO is involved in covert operations and the insurgency in Syria.
German and British spies are reportedly involved in covert operations to help insurgents fight against the Syrian government. German paper Bild am Sonntag says agents of Germany's Foreign Intelligence Agency, BND, are passing on information about Syrian troop movements to the insurgents. The paper says German spies are active at a NATO base in Turkey and are also operating on warships off the Syrian coast. They are reportedly equipped with a technology allowing them to observe troop movements deep inside Syria. The spies presumably pass their findings on to US and British agents, who then supply insurgents with the information. A separate report by Britain's newspaper, The Sunday Times, also says British intelligence is helping the armed groups launch attacks on government forces. The British spies gather information from their listening posts in nearby Cyprus. Last week, US Secretary of State Hillary Clinton visited her counterpart in Turkey. She discussed the possibility of enforcing a no-fly zone over Syria. Washington claims its call for a no-fly zone over Syria is necessary to protect civilians. It's already well known that Western agenda for regime change in Syria is masked by one to save people.
The Western powers, the United States and Great Britain, among others, are determined to essentially bring down the Assad regime. This is exactly what the Russians and the Chinese were trying to prevent, not being able to do it through the UN. They do it surreptitiously by aiding the rebel forces.
Last year, the US and its Western allies conducted a UN-mandated air operation in Libya to allegedly protect civilians. But its savage 7-month blitz with over 30,000 air and missile assaults left thousands dead and maimed. These acts have prompted many to criticize NATO over its failure to protect civilians.
Well, Russia is accusing Western nations of supplying more and more arms to insurgents in Syria. Deputy Foreign Minister Gennady Gatilov says there's growing evidence that the West is delivering massive amounts of weapons to Syrian armed gangs via third-party states. He also criticized the West for calling for more sanctions on the Syrian government while continuing to arm insurgents. Damascus has repeatedly accused the West and Arab countries, including Saudi Arabia and Qatar, of sending weapons to armed militants in Syria. In the headlines today.